scared, you want me weak, you want me brain dead and asleep. You want us trapped while you all laugh behind the scenes. You want us sick, you think we're dumb. You want us blind and you want us drugged. You want us poor while you get more of everything. But you don't get to tell me what to think and what to do. No, you don't get to tell me what is true. 'Cause you're just liars, cheats and crooks. Change the rules and you burn the books. And so I don't believe a single word you say. You're all liars, fakes and cons. Want you out and we want you gone. So don't believe this time you'll get away. You want us tricked, you want us numb. You want us scared and you want us stung. You want us shocked and you want us fought in every way. You want our minds, you want our time. You want us framed up in your crime. I hope you know that it's time to go and we're taking names. 'Cause you don't get to tell us what to think and what to do. No, you don't get to tell us what is true. 'Cause you're just liars, cheats and crooks. Change the rules and you burn the books. And so we don't believe a single word you say. You're all liars, fakes and cons. Want you out and we want you gone. So don't believe this time you'll get away. 'Cause we see la 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 all your lies. La 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 all your lies. You don't get to tell us what to think and what to do. You don't get to tell us what to think and what to do. You don't get to tell us what to think and what to do. You're just liars, cheats and crooks. Change the rules and you burn the books. And so we don't believe a single word you say. You're all liars, fakes and cons. Want you out and we want you gone. So don't believe this time you'll get away. 'Cause we see la 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 all your lies. La 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 all your lies. 'Cause we're just liars, cheats and crooks. Change the rules and you burn the books. So we don't believe a single word you say. Want you out and we want you gone. So don't believe this time you'll get away. We say la 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 all your lies. La 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 all your lies. 'Cause we say la 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 all your lies. La 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 all your lies. 'Cause we say la 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 all your lies. La 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 all your lies. 'Cause we say la 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 all your lies. La 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 all your lies.
I know that if Locals is telling me I'm muted, I don't know what the problem is. I unmuted the stupid thing. My guest is in the back. Our guest for the evening is in the back. Let me just make sure that I'm not muted now. Mute. Let me just give it a second. Can we hear it now? Hey, guys, I think, yes, muted. Better. Okay. We can hear you. There you go. Good, good. Thank you. I did. It doesn't matter. I was joking with Tracy as we were talking before the show. Like, the mic was muted when she came in, and I don't know what the bloody hell the problem is. Good evening, everybody. Barnes is not here tonight. There's force majeure. Don't worry about it. Nothing serious. But Tracy Beans, who was supposed to come in tomorrow, I just got an email. Everybody reaches me from many, many, many places. Okay, the audio's good now. Tracy was supposed to come on tomorrow for the 12:30 show, and I asked if she could substitute in at the last minute, and she said yes, and it's going to be amazing. Before we bring Tracy in, and what I wanted to start with before we get into the sponsor of today's show, we have to have a good laugh. We start with 5 Times August, Liars, Cheats, and Crooks. You can get the song on Apple, iTunes, whatever the thing is. Look at Tim Walz's wife. This is the turn the page lady. She eats the faces of children when nobody's looking. I'm just throwing that out there. Watch this cringe fest before we get into the sponsor for tonight's show.
Hey, Hope, Mom and Dad here.
Hey, Hoper girl.
Finishing decorating the family tree in the living room or in our family room here. And it's all of the handmade ornaments over the years. So we were thinking of you, and I just wanted to show you.
They posted this to Twitter.
Up about a couple of these, so I'll try it. Here you go. Take a look at this.
Look at those pretty sparklies you
2005.
there.
Notice what he did.
Children.
He just talked over her like, forget it. No, I bet her voice annoys even him after however long they've been married for.
They're like snowflakes. Each one is unique.
My father said that to us growing up.
At Roxanne's house.
All right. And here's Gus, your brother.
Do you notice how he is systematically just disregarding her talking in this video? All right. Be quiet, woman.
There, he made us that one from basketball.
When he was dunking. So anyway, hey, Hope, we got the final one. You're going to love this. Toilet paper roll angel.
You made it. Do you see your little hands here?
Hands on the back.
Are the angel wings.
So here we go.
This is iconic.
Not on a real tree, but on this family tree. Oh, Dad got it on there.
Yeah, got it on
Joy to the world.
All right. There you go. I know you're missing
cutting her off 3 times.
Decorate your house for Christmas. We're thinking of you. Love you, Hope.
We're going to post that to Twitter because apparently we don't talk to Hope in real life. People, when we say that America dodged a bullet with Kamala, they dodged the ricochet bullet with what's her face? Oh gosh, Tim Walz's wife. I forget her name. Doesn't matter. All right, people, before I bring Tracy Beans in, if that video made you sick, well, then it's time to actually talk about our sponsor of the evening, Crowd Health, people. Crowd Health. Okay, so you all know that I'm from Canada. We have quote unquote universal health care in Canada, which means it's universally garbage for everybody. Come down to America, we discovered very quickly it costs an arm and a leg, but at least my argument is it costs an arm and a leg up front with health insurance, but you have it when you need it. And then the problem that I quickly realized is that sometimes they have these things called networks of doctors, and if the doctor or whatever is outside of your network, it doesn't get covered. And then despite paying, won't say how much we pay, but despite paying what you pay for health insurance, you end up having to go out of pocket anyhow in order to get something in a timely manner, or because it's not within the network and you don't want to wait. And then you find out, by the way, that when you pay cash, you end up almost paying what you would have otherwise paid by claiming it through the insurance, because they jack up the prices when you go through the insurance so that paying cash is almost more affordable. Enter Crowd Health, by the way. It's actually quite amazing. $185 a month for an individual. It is not insurance. And you're going to understand what this is. It's sort of like the give, send, go of health insurance or crowdfunding of health insurance, but it's not health insurance. You crowdfund or you contribute on a monthly basis. And when you have a claim, you submit it, and the community crowdfunds to help the individuals who are part of this community. $605 a month for a family of 4 or more. You get access to a community of people who are willing to help in the event of an emergency. You'll get access to telemedical visits, discounted prescriptions, and much more without doctors' networks getting in the way, which is what I've discovered when I had to go have the old Tinker checked out. Of course, you'll join the crowd, a group member just like you who wants to help with other people's unexpected medical events. Go to crowdhealth.com. Join the revolution. Get help with your healthcare needs today for just $99 a month for your first 3 months with code VIVA. Crowdhealth.com. It's not insurance. So go look at it. It's an amazing concept. I spent quite a bit of time with the founder on a call because I wanted to understand what it was. And it's a system where members sort of build up credit, and you can choose to contribute to other people's medical emergencies, and you build up credit. And when it's your time, if you need to, people can go back and look at your credit to say, do we want to support that person? It's crowdfunding for healthcare, and it's out of the networks. They pay cash. They have a team that works with you. If you have a claim, they negotiate by paying cash. It's an amazing concept. It's an amazing system. Check it out. The link is in the description. Now, as I said, Barnes is not going to be here tonight. So we have Tracy Beans, who is going to be here tomorrow. I've tried to do my best boning up on Tracy Beans, who she is, and I couldn't find everything. And I get suspicious when people don't have a Wikipedia page. So I'm going to have to ask. We will not spend too much time talking about childhood, but we got a lot to talk about on the menu tonight. The obvious stuff, the alleged CEO killer. And I had to change it because I did realize in my description I said assassin and not alleged assassin. And I'm not trying to be glibber or defend anybody. The dude's innocent until proven guilty. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about everything. And we are going to talk about, I saw the comment coming from our locals community, the woman who has now been arrested for uttering terroristic threats or threats to mass shooting by saying denied depose, would delay, you people are next, when she was on the phone with a frustrated call with her health insurance. We're going to talk about everything and more. Tracy, you ready to come in? 3, 2, 1. Bada bing, bada boom. Tracy, ma'am, how goes the battle?
Oh, it's well. Thanks for having me. I feel like less of a person now that I don't have a Wikipedia page.
It will. See, there's levels of Wikipedia pages. You got like the legit ones. Mine is red. I don't know what red means. And then you have those who have a locked Wikipedia page and those who don't have one. But maybe someone will set one up now. Tracy, who are you? For those who don't know, I know people have been saying that we should do this for a long time. I know enough about you, but not everything. Like, who are you? What do you do? I mean, you go, please.
Okay. So I am now, as we sit here, an investigative journalist and the editor-in-chief at uncoverdc.com, which I started about 6 years ago because everyone was afraid to publish the truth about stuff. So I'm like, well, if none of you guys want to pick this up, then I'll do it myself. So I did, but I started in politics and activism and information sharing probably back in 2008. And I've been very active since then. I worked on both the Ron Paul campaigns. I did some work, all grassroots, of course, not like paid by the campaign, but just very seriously involved in politics. Kind of opened my eyes around 2001 when I lived in New York and 9/11 happened. And then they wanted to pass the NDAA, and that just really ruffled my feathers. So I've been doing this for too long. And was banned a bunch from Twitter, from X. Well, not X. I was reinstated on X, banned from Twitter, banned from Patreon, banned from PayPal.
For what reason was given?
There wasn't a good reason given. It was one of those vague, platform, manipulation. They banned me from Patreon because they said that I was involved with QAnon, which was untrue. They banned me from PayPal for the same reason. X banned me because of COVID and January 6th. I think that's it. And then I've been just, slowly making my way back on the X platform. About 2 years ago, I was reinstated there, and it's beautiful there now, sort of.
Let me ask just very, very quickly. Born and raised, what did your parents do? How many siblings do you have? And
Sure.
The other question was, is Beans your last name, your real last name?
No, my last name is Diaz, which I'm happy to share. It's not a secret. Okay, so I was born in the year 1980 on Long Island in New York in a town called Massapequa. It's on the South Shore of Long Island. My dad had his own electrical contracting company, and my mom worked for him until the recession hit. And then he started he was always a hobbyist, did a lot of computer stuff. As a matter of fact, he was one of the first people to program a chat program. So like my uncle had a hobby store and he was selling the first PCs, and he would use a modem to call my dad, and my dad would like talk to people at the hobby shop and sell him computers. So then he went into IT, and then, I went to University at Albany for 2 years. I was pre-law. But I got very sick and left. And then I went into computers, and I have one sister. And in high school, one of my boyfriends at the time, the phrase cool beans came out, and I hated it. And he started calling me Beans just to mess with me, and it stuck. So that's why you've got Beans.
Okay. The movie, it was a movie with the singer from Lonely Island, and they did cool. There was a whole shtick about cool beans, and then they had like the words coming out of their mouth. Hot Rod. It was Hot Rod and it was Andy Samberg. So you didn't finish law school, but yeah, so you have some legal education, but never practiced law.
I have no legal education. I have, your freshman and sophomore year of philosophy classes in U.S. history and English. But I am enamored with the law. Like, that's one of the things that just lights me up. I'm constantly covering law. So I should have probably continued.
And now someone says it's Franks and Beans, which I know the name is the name of your. I don't know if the show. I noticed some of the videos on YouTube were quite older, but I don't know if you're still with Frank. But Franks and Beans was from There's Something About Mary, and that's what the brother was saying was. Okay, very cool. So, how did you get into journalism? How did you get into Undercover DC? And then we're going to get into the shit that's going on in the world these days.
Let's talk about all the shit. I got into journalism way long time ago when I was living on Long Island still, and not politically and not, investigatively. I was writing for a local paper. I was writing for a local business paper. I always wanted to write. My parents told me that I could not major in English because I would never make anything of myself that way. I've always been, I think this iteration of me really, really kicked in 2015, 2016, when I was covering the WikiLeaks drops. I covered every single one of them, everyone. And I'm not on YouTube anymore. I left voluntarily when they started banning everybody. So my channel's there, but I don't post there. Rumble for me. And so that's when I really got started, like, teaching people what the hell is actually going on in the world. Like, why is it important that Citigroup was picking Barack Obama's cabinet? What does that mean? People didn't know. So it was a lot of Bernie folks that came over and a lot of Trump folks that didn't really know the backstories. And then it just took on a life of its own. And I ended up being able to do it full time. And I started Uncover DC because when you're trying to get pieces placed that are, back in 2016 and 2017, talking about Spygate was very controversial. Nobody wanted to touch it with the 10-foot pole because supposedly the president was colluding with the Russians,
back in the day, I remember the WikiLeaks email drops and some of the stuff that never made any sense that people now think is fiction. The Podesta emails, the weird coded language in those emails. When you're reporting on that at the time, how I know that we were DMing about I won't even say it, people, but frazzle drip. I went down a dark rabbit hole and I said I had a bad night of sleep and some bad dreams, and I said I'm going to give up on that. But you're doing the WikiLeaks drop at the time, and there was the whole Comet Pizza business. There was the whole pizza related. What was it? A handkerchief with a pizza related map on it.
Yeah.
Real emails. How far down that rabbit hole did you go? What sense did you ever make of that coded language in those emails?
Too far, and it changes you as a person. Your one night was, probably about 6 months for me of just, I've literally vomited from some of the things that I researched. And so let's not talk about it today, but all of that was true. And, you used to get canceled and have people sue you for saying it, but it was true. All of the Comet Pizza stuff was true. It was true. So Alefantis used to stalk me on Vote. And
I remember Vote, VOAT.
Yeah.
Who is the person?
James Alefantis, the guy who owned Comet Pizza.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, it was a crazy time, and it's not fun to talk about or think about, and that stuff goes on everywhere. And that's a great segue, Viva, into Diddy, if you want.
Okay, so everybody, we're gonna get to everything. I'm gonna follow the chat. We have our designated subjects, but this might meander a little bit. We talked about the news last week that broke was Jay-Z added to the lawsuit with a Diddy lawsuit. The lawyer is Busby, who's a very reputable attorney who's not dropping bombs without having backup, so to speak. And the P. Diddy business. I think everyone's mildly familiar with it, but let's break it down. And where are you at with that? How you've been following this, obviously not just from day one, but from before day one.
Yeah. So, it's just the next iteration of Epstein, in my opinion, at this point. And there's a few reasons why. So Jay-Z was added to a civil suit, but you've got the criminal suit ongoing right now in the Southern District of New York. And there are shenanigans in that lawsuit. I don't know if you've read any of it or are familiar with any of it.
I'm familiar with some of it, but one of the things at the time, we touched on it a couple of weeks. a month ago, maybe. One of the things that I found interesting in that indictment, this is the Diddy indictment out of New York, is that it was talking about trafficking, etc., but there was nothing about underage minor stuff to it at the time, despite all of these very, very credible rumors, if not, poorly kept secrets. And it still seems to be the case. So, I mean, the indictment is that he was involved in trafficking. I mean, it doesn't not go deep, but it didn't contain some of the salacious allegations that some of us were expecting. But tell us what's going on with that.
One of the first filings in that case was a filing, because that's how they do it there. It was the lawyer for Diddy complaining about the treatment that he got. And one of the things that struck me was that he was saying, he was trying to get bail for Diddy, right? And he's like, we've been working with the FBI on this. We've been working with the U.S. attorney's offices on this. And for some reason, CNN and all these other media outlets show up with cameras on the morning that they raid his house. They knew where he was. He was keeping them apprised of his location. He was not traveling when they didn't want him to. If he did go somewhere, he told them. He was working with these guys, waiting for the day when he would have to probably turn himself in. But they engineered a very public and very televised arrest and raid of his home, right? They said that they held his kids at gunpoint. And I'm like, wow, doesn't that sound familiar? We've heard that before. And just the way the government handled it was weird. So that flagged me right off the bat, because if you're alerting the media first, they did that with Roger Stone. They've done that with Donald Trump. It's not normal. But it got really crazy over the past 3 weeks or so, because the government's saying that P. Diddy is trying to intimidate witnesses, trying to obstruct justice, and things like that. And Diddy's saying, no, I'm not. And
for the benefit of others, through not witness intimidation, but witness manipulation, which is what the allegation was not that he was threatening any of the witnesses, but he was contacting them, promising them things, whatever. And that was the extent of why they argued it was necessary to deny him bail. And back in the day, Tracy, when Barnes and I were talking about it, we were making the same arguments. For someone who's a flight risk, cooperating, for someone who's a flight risk to come back, other people were hypothesizing that this man thinks he's protected and that he's actually not going to get charged, which I think is sort of superficial at the point where, or I say shallow reasoning, we're at the point where they're at, where I think he knows the jig is up and something's going to drop by way of a hammer, which is why his incarceration among the nastiest of prisons was not necessary given the conditions that he was going to agree to for bail. What went down the last few weeks?
It's almost unbelievable. And it reminds me of another case in the same vein as this, in a way. They all of a sudden, there was this pre-planned, quote, sweep of the prison, right? They were looking for contraband. They said it was pre-planned. They were looking for contraband. Well, what the government ended up doing was having one of the people that were doing this raid at the jail actually interviewed, quote, everyone, and then interviewed Diddy, took pictures of his notes, went into his locker, took pictures of his notes, took pictures of privileged documents, took all of his stuff, not drugs, not any of that stuff, his legal file, his legal notes, and had them sent over to the prosecutorial team for the government, and then told nobody about it. It didn't go through a filter team. It didn't go through anything. It just went right into their hands. And so the next time that Diddy's lawyers filed for bond, because they keep on trying to get him out, when the government responded to that, in there were details there was no way they could have possibly known unless they had those things, which is what alerted his attorneys, Diddy's attorneys, to the fact that they actually stole, for lack of a better word, client attorney privilege materials and used them in a filing against him. So the lawyers throw their hands up in the air and they're like, what are you guys doing? How did this even happen? The judge looks at the evidence in a hearing that was granted to them and says, you know what, you're right. Take that stuff out of there. And it needs to go to a filter team now. And the filter team needs to identify whether or not the stuff in here is privileged before you guys can see it, have it, use it, whatever. Still denies them bond. But this is what the government is doing. Now, if you could tell me, because you're an attorney and I'm not, okay? If you have a solid case for the things we talked about at the beginning of the segment here, are you doing something as significant as this under the cover of a contraband raid that takes a week in the prison, and then taking things that are labeled client attorney privilege and photographing them. And I mean, if you're the government, do you need that for your case?
Well, I've been having the pleasure, I guess, or displeasure in a way of talking to a number of people who are in prison, and they give you that warning that, this is a non-secure line. We're going to supervise this line, so nothing you say is private. If you're an attorney and you want the privileged line, you go through whatever system. And I trust that system like I trust, week-old gas station sushi. Yeah. My only question is what does he have now that they could possibly need from him on the inside when they've basically seized everything on the outside and everything in everything?
That's a really good question. I feel like it's almost like they're trying to throw this thing. Truthfully, why would you do that? Now, is that true? I don't know. That's a speculative.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. To taint it the way they did the Alec Baldwin case, where I think it was Brady violations in Baldwin that they ended up tossing the case and he walked free. Okay, well, actually, before we even open that door, from the get-go, there were people hypothesizing, and this was my theory at the beginning as well, that the investigation into Diddy was actually just a way to take control of the video evidence that they now have in their possession, much like the Epstein video evidence that they have in their possession. I had Ian Carroll on last week talking about this, and for someone in the chat who said nothing like the Epstein case, there are people who believe that this is the entertainment subsidiary of the Epstein political scientific subsidiary. Do we have any idea what they seized and who's in possession of the material and who is covered or affected by the material or involved in the material that has been seized right now by the authorities?
So the filings that have been made by Diddy's attorneys are heavily redacted, obviously. They're kind of at a stalemate right now because they're fighting over all of this. They took all of his papers. That's basically what they took. He had no contraband. Now, he's not innocent, okay? I'm not saying that he's in there, wrongfully imprisoned or anything like that, but he's innocent until proven guilty, which is why I was glad you said that in the beginning. It's true. And, he is kind of finagling the text system in there. He's using the email system to send people text messages. He's doing some things he probably shouldn't be doing. But what could they possibly have that they don't have already, other than information traveling between he and his attorneys? And, where Jay-Z comes into this in this particular part is interesting because there are a lot of influencers that we don't necessarily hang around with and tool around with, but they're, pop culture people covering this story. And like 2 weeks ago they came forward and they said, somebody is sending people to our house and they're offering us money to stop talking about this or to say the opposite of what we're saying. And they all went public with that. Somebody was offering them money to basically say the opposite of what they were saying and not bring certain folks into the conversation. Nobody could figure out. They said they were private investigators, Viva. Who were they working for? Nobody had any idea. Nobody could figure out who. They were being filmed. They were saying it brazenly out in public, right? And then Busby starts getting kind of attacked by the Jay-Z side. So Jay-Z
threatened for legal malpractice, threatened for extortion.
Yes. Yes. And this Busby releases a partial transcript of a call where guys are saying, if you'll go say this, and this, we will pay you on behalf of our client, which set off an alarm bell for me because I'm like, that sounds really familiar. So here's what I think. I think speculatively that Diddy and Jay-Z are very much involved in this together. Jay-Z is doing everything and anything he can to keep this out of the public sphere. Now Busby comes in and says, we're adding you to the civil suit. Whether criminal charges will follow, we have no idea at this point. And it is really kind of a survival of the fittest to keep this stuff out of the hands of the public so that they're not exposed to the public and then suffer those consequences as well. But it all ties together. And the shenanigans in the Diddy case are bad enough that I don't know if you ever heard of Joshua Adam Schulte. Have you ever heard of him?
Let me Google it while you tell us who Joshua Adam Schulte.
Yes, Schulte.
Joshua Adam. Let's see who comes up here. Okay, the case study? Joshua Schulte, former CIA officer, sentenced to 40 years in prison for espionage and CP crimes.
Yes.
Okay.
So just to give you an idea, he maintains to this day he didn't do it, but they accuse him of leaking the Vault 7 information to WikiLeaks. That was the CIA basically hacking tools that they used. And he was in jail in the same prison that Diddy's in right now, right? He was representing himself and also had a public defender because his case was super complicated. So he needed to be able to represent himself to talk about some of the particulars. He actually won the first time. It was a mistrial the first go round when he represented himself. Just let that sink in for a second. But he had a laptop that they gave him to prepare his defense. He was only allowed to look at that laptop in a skiff inside the prison, right? They maintained control of that laptop at all times. He went into the skiff. They have to strip search you before you go in there in the prison. Make sure you've got nothing on you. They give you the computer in the skiff, then they leave. They actually put another charge on him for having child porn on the laptop in the skiff that was given to him by the government. Same exact, like it's almost, it reminds me so much of that case. And that's only one of the like nefarious things the government seems to have done.
It was Cheryl Atkinson, right? Who talked about how the FBI threatened or was planning to either they threatened or were planning to plant child pornography on her husband's laptop. And I mean, as if we think that they haven't done it. We also know that in the Jones case, what they said was that Jones had sent CP over to the defendants when in reality, people were sending, when he turned over all of his computers, from what I understand, he had been getting emails with stuff in it that he hadn't even opened that were in the junk. And some hypothesized that it was strictly a setup to get him in trouble and to let the media run with that headline. So, but okay, now let's sort of tie the loop on this. The FBI agent who gets sentenced for this, he was the one who allegedly is behind the Vault 7 leak, which Vault 7, was that the one that was revealing how the intelligence was going to take over cars and crash them for assassinations?
There was some of that in there, but it was really the hacking tools that the CIA uses. So it was all their information about hacking. He worked for the CIA. He was basically blowing the whistle about the lack of security at the CIA with he had an inspector general investigation ongoing at the time. Basically, their passwords were like password 123, and he was the security guy. And he's like, "You guys can't do this. This is crazy." But they pinned this leak. Now, I personally don't believe it was him after reading the 7,000 docket entries in the case. I don't believe it was him. But the way they treated him is the same way that they're kind of weaseling around with Diddy here and the kind of the shady stuff they're doing, except they wanted him. And I think they're throwing the Diddy case.
It's interesting. Yep. Well, yeah, as in, it's an amazing idea. Some people were hypothesizing, let me get this chat. This is Maureen Brown. The timing of his incarceration prior to Trump's win is the most suspect part of the case. Not necessarily prior to Trump's win. The raid on Diddy and then the celebrities with, I mean, I know it becomes something of an internet meme and we're playing like 1 degree of Kevin Bacon where everybody is 1 degree off of Diddy to some extent.
Yeah.
But the timing of it and then the celebs that came out of the woodwork to endorse Kamala Harris, either for payment or for favor, you can connect those dots or you can choose not to, but the dots are definitely there. And then if they got what they wanted or needed, politically speaking, they've seized the evidence, much like they've seized the Epstein tapes. No one's going to see them until they need them to be used. And then Kamala Harris loses, and now they want to throw the case for Diddy and get him out, allow him to get out the same way Alec Baldwin got out for violation of civil rights and whatever.
It's just one angle of what they might be doing, seriously. But I cannot understand why they would need to do this unless there's something that he has that they want and they're looking for whatever reason, whether it's to make it public or keep it for themselves, I don't know. But there are very few reasons why a qualified government team who does this for a living all day long, they're criminal, they're prosecuting criminals, would do something this
egregious.
Abhorrent. Yeah, it's just.
And unnecessarily so. So for the time being, there's no underage accusations, allegations. It's RICO charges for sex trafficking. There hasn't been a superseding indictment as far as I know.
No.
Okay. So none of the underage stuff, despite the allegations. The civil suit with Jay-Z and P. Diddy. Who was it again that filed that suit? I forget his name now.
The attorney?
No. It's a Jane Doe in the civil suit, and that's
and Jay-Z's trying to unmask her. He's trying to force her to go public. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Sorry, go for it.
No, I mean he's literally victim blaming and attempting to get this woman doxxed. I don't think he knows which one it is. There probably are several of them that he's wondering which one it is, or he's trying to ruin the girl's life. It's a terrible thing that's going on right now, and they're threatening everyday people with cameras in their face. So, yeah.
All right, that's wild. Now, by the way, this is I don't know what currency this is, but don't anyone think that's a $2,000 super chat? And I don't know if it's supposed to be glib, like, but there was no basement in the Comet place, and therefore you know that I think it's glib. But the Comet Ping Pong Pizza cannot be true because the place had no basement. That was the talking point. Was there a cellar in that thing or in that place?
Yes, there's an interview where he takes people through a tour of it from years and years ago. Yes.
Tracy, give me 1 second. I'm gonna let my dog out of the room here.
Okay.
Okay, Tracy. Someone in the chat said the dog. It's. One day I'll get a studio, but I'm not sure if I want a studio. One day I'll get a dog door in that door. One day I'll get a better chair. Did you ever watch Jablinski games back in the day when Jack Black, who I can no longer look at because of the things that happened after the assassination, he had his channel and it was called Jablinski Games, and every one of the first like 12 episodes, he was going to get to gaming, but he never actually got to gaming, and then he finally got to gaming. But one day I will get a new chair, a gaming chair that'll be comfortable, and an adapter where I will not start every show muted. The drones, are you following the drone story?
Oh my gosh, don't.
No, I won't play the entire thing. I won't even play the video, but Rogan reposted this guy, a 9-minute video, a drone manufacturer who works in intelligence, hypothesizing that, and I think it's the only theory that makes sense for the time being, that the drones are out there sniffing. He doesn't know for what, but they're out there sniffing. Some people are saying if they're out there sniffing, why would they be out at night with their lights on? I don't know how closely you're following it or if you're investigating it on your own. I think the consensus now is they are, in fact, real not unidentified, but unaccounted for drones. Some people were filming planes and some people were saying, oh, there's no drones. It's just idiots confusing them with planes. There's drones. The government's admitting it. They don't know whose they are. There was some Republican guy who came out last week, said they're Iranian drones coming from a mothership off the East Coast, which I think has been thoroughly, not debunked, but is thoroughly preposterous. Mayorkas, the dereliction treasonous traitor, comes out and says it's not Iranian. We don't know what it is. And my underlying theory is that some people are saying PSYOP, but that doesn't. Here, hold on a second. Chase Hughes has a good video about them being a PSYOP. In what sense, though? Because the PSYOP could be they know what they are, but they're telling you they don't. There was a 9-minute video of a drone expert manufacturer who's working with intelligence, says he thinks they're sniffing. And I think that is the thing that makes the most sense, given the fact that it's not hard to take down a drone. And if they were not government drones, the government would have taken them down. What's your understanding of where this is at? And what's your personal opinion?
There's a lot there. I've been following this since about 2 weeks ago. Hardcore. It's so intriguing to me. I have to ask you a question, though. Do you know how big decades-old nuclear warheads from Ukraine would be? And wasn't it Russia back then?
Well, so people were saying, yeah, why would there be nukes in Ukraine? Some people are saying, from what I understand, like there could be nukes that could be as small as a large briefcase.
But didn't he say they went missing like years ago?
He said the guy. Well, I should play some of the video so that nobody thinks we're crazy here. Hold on, it was. Let me see here. Not crystal ball. No, I got a lot of. Here we go. CEO drone manufacturer. Well, let's skip to the part where he's talking about
to the highest levels of our government.
Okay, so he works for the government
project, right? There's no reason for a drone to be flying at night.
Okay.
Really? Okay. Because they don't see shit. So, unless you have thermal optics.
Okay, but this is
gas leaks just simply because
the gas leaks.
Whatever is different in temperature, it creates an image. Usually gas leaks so slow.
Okay, he's talking about what they could be looking at
all to help this gentleman raise the alarm.
Here we go. This is it.
Nothing ever happened. This government did not do anything at all to help this gentleman raise the alarm
about missing nukes from Ukraine.
That there is a very deadly weapon on its way to the United States. It's out there. Nobody knows where it's at now.
I think it was in the beginning that he said.
Yeah. Here, let's.
Back in the 1980s, Ronald Reagan had dismantled the nuclear program, and there were with Russia, there were countless nuclear missiles that were disarmed and disposed of. Well, there were over 80, I believe. There were over 80 nuclear warheads that were in Ukraine that came up missing.
So that ended up in Ukraine, ended up missing. He says, the guy that I know put his hand on one and he sounded the alarm. It went missing. Nobody knows where it is. Do I doubt that there are unaccounted for nuclear warheads?
How big are these things?
I think they could be relatively small. Let's see.
From the 80s?
How small is a nuclear warhead?
From the 80s. From the 80s.
A nuclear warhead can be as small as a few inches in diameter to a couple of feet long with some design. Or let's see, from the let's say it's big enough. But the bottom line is here: a typical nuclear warhead from the 80s could be roughly the size of a basketball with this is from AI, with a diameter of around 11 to 12 inches and 2 to 3 feet deep.
Okay. So then you've got to fly these drones only at nighttime with their lights blaring everywhere to find a basketball-sized nuclear warhead that was stolen from Ukraine and is on its way over here.
Forget that. That guy's theory is just like one of the things they could be looking for. My bottom line is I believe they're sniffing for radiological potential.
Why?
Because somebody might have come over from the southern border or even from the northern border. Forget the southern border. Maybe one of those 1,000 intercepted terrorists have brought over some dirty bomb and they're trying to look. Why would they go at night? Maybe less traffic, so less distortion, less pedestrian traffic. What makes you
think that? Like, why did you go there first? Before you heard that guy, what did you think?
Oh, no, I thought it before that guy, actually. So I'll say if I turn out to be right, my tweet's like a week old. I went there because first of all, it's inconceivable that the government would say that they're not government drones and then be incapable of taking down at least one to identify where they come from. Like if they're Iranian drones, it's not rocket science to take them down, not with a shotgun or lethal fire. It's easy to take them down. It's easy. They say, oh, we went out with our drones and then these things disappear. They don't have lights on. So I don't believe that they're foreign. I believe it's sort of a domestic operation that they can't disclose the purpose of for the time being. Whether the purpose is strictly psyop to confuse people and to create a news cycle issue, I don't believe they're foreign because I believe that one would have been taken down if only by, what's the word I'm looking for? An entrepreneurial citizen. So I believe it's government. Then the only question is, what are they doing?
The government told us that they're not theirs. They're not a foreign adversaries, and they're not like a nation states. So they told us those three things.
Well, but at the same time, that's the thing. They said they are foreign and they're not foreign at the same time. It just depends on the different branch of government.
Yeah, so they're lying to us, period. So are we going to choose to believe that they're not our, if we choose to believe one thing, don't we have to believe everything? So are we going to cherry pick what the government's telling us to kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't believe literally anything they're saying.
No, true. They are lying. That's for certain. Now, and I listen to a lot of Bongino, and Bongino says, well, nobody wants to look stupid. So by virtue of the fact that they're saying we don't know what it is, they must be doing that begrudgingly. And I say, no, I take it from a different angle. They don't mind looking stupid if it's temporary. It's sort of a Machiavellian strategy. They know that they can't say the exact reason for which they're doing this because it will highlight their incompetence or corruption. Or maybe it's just a pure distraction operation. In Canada, by the way, during COVID, the government said COVID's a good time for us to test propaganda techniques. And in Nova Scotia, they were running a story, a propaganda story about wolves running wild in metropolitan areas. And so if it's just a pure distraction, fine. But I think that the reason why they're not saying what it is, despite the fact that they know it's not foreign, is because I think it would highlight a grotesque lapse of security. And they don't want to highlight their incompetence for the incoming administration. For one reason or another.
That could be true. They did that with War of the Worlds, by the way, back in the 40s here in the United States, and over and over and over and over again. I mean, everything is propaganda for us here. Everything. I believe literally nothing. And that's the problem. Another thing to that video before we skip that, because there's a lot there. That guy, I looked him up. He's not listed as the CEO of any of the companies that he says he's the CEO of on their pages. That doesn't mean that I'm saying he's not.
No, but that's it. Well, first of all, why didn't I see? This is journalism. Ask the obvious questions. The first question, is he who he says he is?
It may be that he maybe he's like the undercover CEO. I'm not writing him off completely.
No. It's a fair question.
His LinkedIn does say that he's the CEO, but I mean, I could say I'm the CEO too, and on my LinkedIn, and nobody would say anything.
Do you have facial recognition software? Do you have access to any?
Me?
Yeah.
No. No.
Is it Matt MZ about do due diligence and you're a lawyer or a journalist? Oh no, but the thing is, like, sometimes like that video just popped up and like there's so much.
Well, I mean, it's viral. It's viral at this point, right? He has a room. He looks like he's in a museum. I just don't trust anything. That's a problem sometimes because I trust nothing, right?
Mhm.
But that video has, this is the problem with the state of things as they are now. I was saying it on Friday. Literally, one of those things could land and little green men could get off of it and come and say, we come in peace. And everybody would be like, the government's trying to get us to think aliens exist. And the aliens could be there like, we're real. This is really us. We're here. And the people would be like, oh, goodbye. We're never going to know what the truth of these things actually is. Ever.
Well, unless now I have a very, very sinister secondary concern that it might be that I get very dark. If it might be the government trying to set up a situation where in the future a drone is used to carry out a very nefarious purpose, and then they can say, "Oh, well, it was inevitable. It shows a weakness, and we can't stop foreign drones from flying over us." When Trump is out on the golf course and they have that Ruth guy who's hiding in the bushes, and everybody thinks like snipers and people with guns are the risk. Anybody who's has access to a drone can understand what the real risk is. And on the one hand, if they were going to try to set up a pretext where something could happen and they're going to say, look, we couldn't do anything about it when they were flying over New Jersey. What do you expect us to do when they were flying over Mar-a-Lago? And so my concern, and I hope it's relayed to the Trump team, is this looks like it could be astroturfing or laying the brickwork or the groundwork for a drone attack somewhere between now and, say, inauguration. And they can say, "Oh, we couldn't stop them. It's a new technology, and we're they're ahead of the game. These Iranian, Chinese-made drones." Or there is actually something radiological out there that has been carried over the border that might be implemented between now and up to and including Inauguration Day.
The way I look at this entire thing at this point is this: there is nothing that anyone is going to do about any of this, right? Let's pretend that's true and they're sniffing for radiation or for a nuclear warhead. Like, you fearing it and running around scared about it and getting stressed out about it. Like, nobody ever makes any good decisions from a place of fear, ever, which is why they try to keep us that way 99% of the time, in fear or anger or fighting. Nobody can ever make a good decision from there. There's nothing that you personally can do about it. So at this point, I'm doing this. It's getting ridiculous now. Like, now I'm seeing craziness go on, and I feel bad for people because you don't know what to believe because they don't tell us, and that might be the whole point.
There's no question about that, because one way or the other, if they're sniffing out for a nuclear bomb or something terrible, they can't say it. That would cause public panic. Flip side, if they're just testing out drones and whatever, don't tell anybody. This has caused a week's worth of a news cycle about people looking up in the sky. The only good thing about it, people are looking up at the sky for the first time ever. They're noticing that there's sometimes an aura around the moon. It's about, and you never know if it's parody. You never know what to believe, and you never know if an account is parody. Like, what's that ring around the moon? And it's an actual beautiful phenomenon that occurs, especially when it gets cold. But my money is on. It's an operation. They know it is. They're looking for something or someone. They're out at night because there's less traffic, there's less pollution, there's less interference. And the one big question is, if they're out trying to do it discreetly, why are they running with the lights, the FAA lights? Like, that was the most idiotic premise of their Iranian, China-made drones that are abiding by the FAA requirements for red and green lights on drones.
Yeah. Well, they also, I mean, there are, if you want to really go down a crazy rabbit hole, which I have fun doing, Go over to UFO Twitter and look at what they're saying about this stuff. They're saying everything from these are ships that are cloaking themselves to look like actual real things that we have here on Earth. Like it is a wild scenario out there right now, no matter where you turn. So we're never going to be able to get to the bottom of it. And sometimes people, government actors will pepper that into whatever they're trying to do on purpose to discredit everything at that point. Like what we started the show off with. So,
well, and you say like that video has gone viral. I think it's the Rogan effect. When Rogan retweets something, by definition, it goes viral. Total tangent, because I've been struggling with how I feel about this. You saw that Rogan tweeted out that country blues singer who made the United Healthcare song. Have you seen this? Well,
no.
I might have. I don't know if I can access my Instagram via. It's the guy. The song went viral on Twitter. Let me see if locals, if you can get the video of the guy, and I'll bring it up. It's a country singer playing like sort of a, like a, not a banjo, but I wish I can get it. Yeah, it's a country song that's about United Health, about there's no you in United Health, there's no me in company, and talking about the greedy healthcare companies or health insurance companies. And Rogan retweeted it. And I'm torn as to whether or not that's celebrating the alleged assassin. The song is good. I mean, it's the guy's got a nice raspy country voice. The song is good and catchy, but I feel that it's sort of glorifying what's now becoming a social movement around Luigi. You know what? We'll talk about Luigi, and I'll pull up the video. And I'm not sure how I feel about it. I think Rogan is giving the wrong type of attention and creating the wrong type of lore around the assassin by celebrating a guy whose song seems to celebrate the incident, albeit, the song is about greedy health insurance companies, and it could have been written a year ago, and maybe it was, but I don't think it was.
The most ironic part of all of this is if the government just would have kept its freaking paws off the healthcare industry and off health insurance.
Because this is what people are telling me, like, Viva, it's actually an assault on Obamacare. Flesh that angle out, because that's what a lot of people are saying, that this is not, the reason why the health insurance companies are doing this now is directly related to Obamacare. I haven't been in America long enough to have known what it was like pre-Obamacare versus post. I just know that my health insurance guy always complains about Obamacare.
It's subsidized by the government. And it's mandatory that you have it, right? So anytime anything is subsidized by the government, you're going to get waste, fraud, and abuse in there. So, like, for example, everybody has to have, quote, healthcare under the government, so they can. And it's such a complicated thing. Basically, what's happening is insurance companies are refusing to pay on claims. Hospitals are billing for a bag of saline. They'll bill like $2,000 because there's a certain amount that the healthcare companies have to do. It's just a racket. The entire thing is a racket. The health insurance industry here in this country worked so well before it was mandated on people to have it, and it was subsidized by the government. You used to be able to pay $20 for a copay. You had a very normal costing insurance plan. Your employer would cover some of the cost and hold it for you, and you would cover some of the cost. There was no like tax deductible, refund at the end of the year. So for example, the government, let's say I have a family of 4, my health care plan would cost $2,600 a month, usually. The government says you don't make enough money to afford that, so we're going to pay X amount of dollars for you. And then at the end of the year, when you file your taxes, if you made more money than you say, then you'll owe us back. But it's basically the government handing out money to insurance companies under these, and then the plans are wildly inflated in cost because the government's going to take care of the rest of it. And then for them to not pay out and keep more money for themselves, they decline all procedures that are necessary. They act with impunity because nobody holds them accountable, because now you've got a subsidized relationship between the government and the health insurance agency or industry. And the hospitals know that they can probably bilk a good amount of money out of these insurance carriers. It's caused mayhem everywhere in healthcare, everywhere.
Here, I got the song. The guy's name is Jesse Wells. He's a songwriter. I just don't know what his history is like, but here, I'll play some of it.
There's an office and a building and a person and a chair, and you paid for it all, though you may be unaware. You paid for the paper, you paid for the phone, you paid for everything they need to deny you what you owe. There ain't no you in United Health, there ain't no me in the company, there ain't no us in the private trust. hardly humans in humanity.
Okay, that's the idea of the song. I won't play the whole thing if everybody wants to go find it. And so Rogan retweeted, said this song is fire, and
Oh, that's
I don't know. Like my feeling is that I'm not calling the guy a grifter whatsoever. He might have been an activist beforehand. My feeling is that is, it's creating a lore around the assassin, and it's
I wouldn't share it.
And the song goes on. Everybody can look that up. So now, the news of the day is, and so the news of the day, Luigi Mangione he was arrested last week, or detained. Some people questioning whether or not it's the same person based on the space between the eyebrows of two different pictures. And I'm just sitting there thinking, like, officially, all that we have is a video without a face being shown of the shooter killing Brian Thompson. And we don't even know if that's Luigi there. He's secured a very high-profile criminal defense attorney. Her name is Kathy Friedman Agnioli, who used to be an assistant district attorney for 30 years, like 3 decades, who has experience in sex trafficking prosecution, I presume, who's at a law firm where her husband is the attorney for P. Diddy.
Yeah.
What have you dug further into any of the players in terms of the attorneys? Like the kid comes from a very rich family, so they're going to get very connected, high-powered defense attorneys, as everyone is entitled to.
Yeah, I don't think it's weird that 2 attorneys are married to each other. Like, that doesn't flag me. That's common. So it doesn't flag me right off the bat. I don't know how there could be a connection between the two. I saw a lot of people talking about how this dude is somehow connected to the Pelosi family. But I haven't even really dug in too much there. I truthfully thought either he was schizophrenic and had a break because he was dabbling in like natural, like psilocybin and stuff like that beforehand. Or he didn't do it. Those were the 2 options. Either he's nuts or he didn't do it. I didn't think there was very much in between there. But the chick that you're talking about that said those things, I have to say, nobody should go out and kill anybody. Nobody thinks that. But also, insurance companies are killing people with their decisions. And people get very frustrated when they need life-saving care and they're denied it because some pencil pusher has some certain algorithm they have to fit into, and their actuaries are telling them, no, you have to act, certain number of procedures. So I think that this murder has brought a very big microscope over the insurance industry at this point and healthcare in general, and that's why we're getting all of this stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, the problem with that is that, first of all, people have been complaining for a while. Everybody always has been complaining and comparing between Canada and the States. On the one hand, you pay up the wazoo for insurance in the States, and it has its own problems. And if you're poor, you can't afford it. And on the other hand, in Canada, you pay up the wazoo if you're a tax-paying citizen, and you still end up dying in the ER after 14 hours. And I'm not being hyperbolic.
I know.
My issue is like I qualify. Whoever did it, I qualify this as an act of terrorism if it is indeed motivated by revenge for policy. I mean, it's the definition of targeting citizens to cause terror to enact political change. I do err on, I'm on the side of what you're saying, because he was reposting some Huberman stuff about psychedelics, psilocybins, and I've known a couple of people who snap and become forever either manic bipolar or just forever detached from reality, or it's not him, period. What I loathe is trying to say it's terrible, it's an act of terrorism, but the industry is really terrible because that's the terrorist rationale for, blowing up a bus is bad, but it really highlights Israel government mistreatment of Palestinians. That is the rationale for terrorism.
Yeah, you can't pretend the insurance marketplace in the United States is not terrible, though. Like, if that's going to be the conversation and you don't want to play into that, just don't talk about it at all, because that's not an excuse. I don't think any sane, like, we're not Taylor Lorenz, right? I'm not Taylor Lorenz. I'm not that. And I think most sane people can tell the difference between saying insurance sucks and you shouldn't murder people. Like, it's pretty cut and dry. You should never go out and murder anybody, ever. But the insurance industry also really does suck. The two are not mutually exclusive.
No, but the only thing is, it's the but. It's the conjunction. There's a lot of things that are terrible, like, period.
And the
legal system is terrible. The hospital system is terrible. And there's no but. You don't go kill people, period. It's terrorism. But we're going to go over to Rumble in a second, actually, and not out of fear of anything. I wanted to make one last connection. It is true. I don't think there's anything weird that P. Diddy's lawyer is married to another high-profile lawyer. Where I get very curious, Tracy, is that you have P. Diddy's lawyer, the husband, whatever his name is, Angelo,
Yeah.
who is defending a man accused of sex trafficking for now, and I think it will be superseded by something more sinister if he does not get Epsteined in prison. And his wife used to be the DA with experience in prosecuting trafficking. So you have someone being defended for what his wife has extensive experience in knowing the network, knowing the players, and knowing the potential loopholes. And so that's where I think there's an angle that they can be exploiting mutually, where her expertise in prosecution becomes a value added in his expertise for a defense, given what Diddy's accused of. She's also a very, very progressive, TDS afflicted, liberal activist attorney. And so I can see where there could be room for connecting conspiracy dots there.
So I was trying to connect the insurance case to the Diddy case with what you were saying, like, because she took on the insurance killer, then there was some tie between the two cases. That's why I
was just thinking, well, because I'm Googling her name and then I see the same name as defending Diddy, then I'm thinking, and then I find out that she's progressive, she's connected to the left. She's connected to the Midas touch.
If she was progressive and trying to prosecute sex crimes, I would be scared, because they tend to be very lenient towards things. They tend to be
the Lincoln Projects, is what they tend to be.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna everybody get your butts over to Rumble. I'll give you the link. You can come over to Locals, but we have the Locals supporters only all night long, because everybody can watch it for free on YouTube or Rumble, and then we have our after party, which is supporters only in any event. But it keeps the chat among local supporters, which is nice. Let me bring up a bunch of these Rumble rants over on Rumble. I pulled your picture from the from your Twitter avatar, so I hope it's a good one. I like the picture.
I'm like 20 pounds lighter, but thank you.
Oh, well, if someone uses it for their avatar, yeah. it's a. Plus, I was running late. Squeaky Wheel says, to me, the drones matter seems to be an Ocean's 11 type looky-loo distraction. Okay, and then we got Efits says, I can't believe you didn't figure it out yet, Viva. They are drone fishing. I used a drone to go fishing. It was the best day of my life. Cheryl says, is it legal to do preemptive pardons? I believe the consensus is you can do preemptive pardons. Well, for sure you can. I don't think there's any legal dispute that you can't give preemptive pardons, blanket pardons for crimes that may or may not have even been haven't been charged for. So the blanket pardon for Biden for 10 years of potential criminality is, I think, legally unassailable. And then we got Crash Bandit, who says, Viva, look into Project or Operation Broken Arrow. History of the U.S. dropping, losing live nukes. It's crazy. I remember the movie Broken Arrow with Delroy Lindo and Christian Slater. But Tracy, holy cows, I'm gonna get goosebumps. It's the most flashback to my childhood. So I've been suggested that I have mild OCD, and we were out for dinner at the Cheesecake Factory in 1995. Whenever that movie came out. And it's before the internet, it's before cell phones, relatively. And I couldn't remember the name of the actor, Delroy Lindo. And I sat at the dinner table. I couldn't talk to anybody. Everyone was like, what the hell's wrong with you? I was like, I can't remember the guy's name. So I had to call up Movieland in Montreal, which was a place where you could rent movies on Green Avenue. And then I called them, long distance, no cells. I got to go use somebody, landline. And it was Delroy Lindo. So I never forgot the name.
Wow.
All right.
How old were you in 95?
I'm 1 year older than you. I was born in 79.
Okay.
So
you were 16.
And John Travolta, yeah. And it might have been earlier, because I think, okay, hold on. Let's just OCD again. What year? Broken.
Oh, I'm going to mess with you the rest of the time now that I know this. 96.
I'm damn good memory is what I have. Oh, no, Tracy, it's everybody knows, but like I what is it called when you in addition to catastrophizing, obsessing over things. Oh God, 30 years later, I still obsess. Okay, what we're going to do now, though, we're going to end it on YouTube, and we're going to end it on Twitter, and come on over to Rumble. And it doesn't change anything on our end. We're just going to go like this: YouTube, Rumble, Viva Fry.